Long before Rome rose to power, an ancient civilization flourished in the shadows of Italy, a people whose secrets have mystified historians for centuries. Their art, their rituals, and their legacy shaped the very foundation of Roman culture. Yet their language and customs remain one of the greatest mysteries of antiquity. Join us as we unravel the enigmatic story of the Etruscans, a civilization lost to time, but whose influence still echoes through the heart of modern history. Long before the rise of the Roman Empire, a mysterious and sophisticated civilization flourished on the Italian peninsula, the Etruscans. Cloaked in shadows and often overshadowed by the grandeur of Rome, the Etruscans played a foundational role in shaping the culture, governance, and religion of their more famous successors. Yet despite their immense influence, the Etruscans remain one of antiquity's greatest enigmas. Still, the ruins of their cities, the majesty of their tombs, and the artifacts unearthed from beneath the soil whisper stories of a people both foreign and familiar. Their artistry, engineering, and societal structure hint at a civilization of remarkable depth. In this exploration, we turn to archaeology, ancient texts, and artistic remains to shed light on the legacy of the Etruscans, a civilization whose influence endures, even as their voice remains largely silent. The origin of the Etruscans has long puzzled scholars and historians. Ancient Greek historians such as Herodotus proposed that the Etruscans migrated from Lydia, in modern-day Turkey, during a time of famine, sailing westward to settle in Italy. Contrasting this is the account of Dionysius of Halicarnassus, who argued that the Etruscans were indigenous to the Italian peninsula, evolving independently from earlier Italic cultures. Modern archaeological and genetic evidence leans toward a blend of both theories, suggesting that while the Etruscans were deeply rooted in Italy, their culture may have been influenced by interactions with Eastern Mediterranean peoples. Their language, preserved in thousands of inscriptions on tombs, mirrors, and pottery, presents another mystery. It is neither Indo-European nor Semitic and remains only partially deciphered. Although scholars can read Etruscan phonetically thanks to its adapted Greek-style alphabet, the meanings of most words elude translation. This linguistic isolation sets the Etruscans apart from their neighbors and contributes to their enigmatic status in ancient history. Geographically, the Etruscans inhabited the region known as Etruria, encompassing much of present-day Tuscany, western Umbria, and northern Lazio. Their civilization thrived in a network of city-states rather than a unified empire, with each urban center maintaining a degree of autonomy. Notable Etruscan cities included Tarquinia, famed for its elaborately painted tombs, Veii, a powerful rival of early Rome, and Cerveteri, home to the vast Banditaccia necropolis. Daily life in Etruscan society was marked by a blend of order, ritual, and a surprising degree of social sophistication. Their cities featured advanced urban planning, including well-constructed roads, drainage systems, and fortified walls. These engineering feats, precursors to later Roman accomplishments, reveal a civilization that placed high value on infrastructure and public organization. One of the most striking aspects of Etruscan life was the elevated role of women. In stark contrast to their Greek and Roman counterparts, Etruscan women were depicted as active participants in society. They attended banquets alongside men, owned property, and were honored in inscriptions and tombs. Greek and Roman authors often expressed disdain at this cultural norm, which they viewed as scandalous. But for the Etruscans, it was clearly a sign of gender parity within the elite class. Economically, the Etruscans thrived through agriculture and trade. Fertile lands allowed for the cultivation of grain, olives, and grapes, while the proximity to coastal routes facilitated commerce with the Greeks, Phoenicians, and other Mediterranean powers. Artifacts such as Greek pottery found in Etruscan tombs point to a robust exchange of goods and ideas. Religion permeated every aspect of Etruscan life. They practiced a form of polytheism that included native deities and borrowed gods from neighboring cultures. Etruscan priests, known as haruspices, specialized in divination, particularly the reading of animal entrails and lightning patterns, to interpret the will of the gods. Necromancy and ancestor worship were also common, reflecting a deep connection between the living and the dead. The Etruscans held a profound reverence for the afterlife, a belief system vividly expressed in their elaborate funerary architecture and rituals. Unlike many ancient cultures that viewed death with dread, the Etruscans appeared to celebrate it as a continuation of life, a transition to another realm where joy, festivity, and familial bonds endured. Etruscan tombs, often carved into rock, or constructed as burial mounds called tumuli, resembled houses for the dead. These tombs were grouped into vast necropolises, cities of the dead, such as those found in Tarquinia and Cerveteri. Within these subterranean chambers, families created eternal dwellings, complete with furniture, pottery, and personal belongings meant to accompany the deceased into the afterlife. One of the most captivating elements of Etruscan tombs is their wall paintings. These frescoes portray scenes of banquets, dancers, musicians, and athletic games, a vision of the afterlife filled with vitality and pleasure. Unlike the somber funerary art of many contemporaneous cultures, Etruscan tomb paintings exude a sense of joy and continuity. The famous Tomb of the Leopards in Tarquinia, for example, depicts reclining figures enjoying a feast, celebrating life even in death. Sarcophagi and urns also provide insight into Etruscan beliefs and social values. Many sarcophagi are topped with sculpted figures of the deceased, often shown reclining and smiling, as if greeting visitors or awaiting a banquet. These portrayals reinforce the notion of a personal and peaceful afterlife. The inclusion of grave goods, from gold jewelry to imported Greek pottery, underscores the importance of status, remembrance, and spiritual preparation. Etruscan religion embraced complex ideas of the soul's journey. They believed in spirits, divine judgment, and the need for proper rites to ensure safe passage to the next world. Deities such as Charun, a grim psychopomp figure, and Vanth, a winged goddess of fate, guided souls through the underworld. Etruscan political organization was based on a federation of independent city-states, each governed by its own ruler or aristocratic council. Though they shared a common language, religion, and cultural practices, these cities, such as Tarquinia, Veii, and Clusium, often operated autonomously. The lack of political unity would later prove to be one of the civilization's vulnerabilities. Each city was likely ruled by a lucumen, a king or high magistrate, who wielded both secular and religious authority. These rulers presided over civic life, led military campaigns, and conducted sacred rituals. Beneath them, a class of aristocrats managed wealth, land, and influence, while the common population worked in agriculture, crafts, and trade. Despite their decentralized governance, the Etruscans did attempt to unify through a league of 12 cities, which met annually at the Fanum Voltumnae, a central sanctuary and religious meeting point. This confederation, however, was more ceremonial than political, and cooperation among the cities was inconsistent. The Etruscans had a profound influence on early Roman political institutions and symbolism. The fasces, a bundle of rods with an axe, originated in Etruria as a symbol of authority, and would later become a defining emblem of Roman magistrates. Similarly, elements of the Roman Senate, magistracies, and even religious offices show clear Etruscan origins. The most direct political impact came through Etruscan kingship in Rome itself. According to Roman tradition, several of Rome's early kings were Etruscan. Tarquinius Priscus, Servius Tullius, and Tarquinius Superbus ruled during a formative period of Roman development. Under their reigns, Rome adopted advanced urban infrastructure, religious institutions, and royal regalia, much of which was inspired by or directly imported from Etruria. The reign of Tarquinius Superbus, the last king of Rome, ended in revolution and led to the establishment of the Roman Republic. Though vilified in Roman history, the legacy of Etruscan kingship remained deeply embedded in Rome's political DNA. Through their political innovations and influence, the Etruscans shaped the foundations of governance in Italy. Not through conquest, but through culture, tradition, and the transmission of power. The Etruscans were masterful artists and skilled engineers whose creativity bridged tradition and innovation. Their artwork, architecture, and technological advancements not only defined their own identity, but also left a lasting impression on the Roman world. Etruscan sculpture stands out for its expressive realism and lively forms. Terracotta statues, such as the renowned Apollo of Veii, capture dynamic movement and individualized features, distinguishing Etruscan art from the more idealized Greek forms. Similarly, funerary sculptures often depicted couples reclining together in affectionate poses, a motif not found in Greek or early Roman art. Pottery was another significant artistic outlet. While the Etruscans produced their own distinctive black bucchero ware, elegant glossy ceramics often shaped into elaborate forms, they also imported and emulated Greek pottery styles. These pieces served both decorative and functional purposes, and were commonly placed in tombs as offerings. In architecture, the Etruscans pioneered techniques that the Romans would later perfect. They were early users of the arch, a structural innovation that allowed for stronger bridges, gates, and aqueducts. Their temples, built atop high podiums with deep porches and decorated with vibrant terracotta sculptures, influenced the layout and design of early Roman sanctuaries. Etruscan cities showcased advanced urban planning, including well-paved streets, sewage systems, and fortified walls. The use of cloacae, drainage canals, especially in cities like Veii, reflected a deep understanding of civil engineering and public health. Beyond construction, the Etruscans were expert metalworkers. They mined iron and copper from the hills of Etruria and produced tools, weapons, and jewelry of remarkable quality. Intricate goldwork, particularly in earrings and fibulae, displayed exceptional craftsmanship and an aesthetic sensibility that combined local and foreign motifs. Innovation also extended into religious and ritual spaces. Sacred groves, temples, and altars were designed to align with spiritual beliefs and cosmic symbolism, demonstrating a harmony between their architecture and theology. The Etruscan civilization, once a powerful and influential force in central Italy, began to unravel due to a combination of internal strife and external pressures. From the 5th century BCE onward, the once unified Etruscan city-states faced growing challenges. Factionalism and rivalries between the cities weakened their collective strength, leaving them vulnerable to outside threats. This internal division made it difficult to mount a cohesive defense against the growing forces encroaching upon their territories. Externally, the Gauls posed a significant threat, sacking cities like Clusium in the early 4th century BCE, further destabilizing the region. However, it was the rise of Rome that marked the final chapter in the Etruscans' political and cultural dominance. Rome, steadily expanding its influence across Italy, began its conquest of the Etruscan cities in the late 4th and early 3rd centuries BCE. The city of Veii, one of the most powerful Etruscan centers, was destroyed by the Romans in 396 BCE, signaling the beginning of the end for Etruscan autonomy. Though the Etruscans never fully recovered from these military defeats, their cultural influence did not disappear. Over time, many aspects of Etruscan society, including their religion, art, and political structures, were absorbed by Roman culture. The Romans adopted several Etruscan practices, such as the use of augury, divination, the architectural use of the arch, and the organization of political offices. Etruscan religious symbols, including the fasces, also found their way into Roman iconography, leaving a lasting imprint on Roman identity. The Etruscan civilization, though ultimately eclipsed by the rise of Rome, left an indelible mark on history. Their contributions to Roman political structures, religious practices, art, and architecture are undeniable, even as their civilization faded from prominence. Yet, much of their story remains shrouded in mystery, particularly their language, which remains only partially deciphered, and many of their customs, which continue to elude full understanding. The mystery surrounding the Etruscans, their origins, their beliefs, and their eventual absorption by Rome, invites us to explore a civilization that shaped much of Western culture, but whose identity remains partially obscured. By continuing to study their artifacts, language, and legacy, we honor their contributions and keep their story alive, offering lessons on cultural resilience and the complexities of history.